What's up guys, Jeff Cavalier, ATHLEAN-X.com. Today I'm going to start a series that I think is going to be one of the most helpful for you. And that is, we know that there are certain combinations of joints and exercises that don't really go that well together. Feel free to cringe along. If you've got bad knees and you're doing leg day, right? Not usually a good combination. Or if you got bad shoulders and you're training your chest or your shoulders, or maybe a bad back and leg day or a bad back and back day. We're going to get to all these. But today I wanted to start with training your chest. And more specifically, we're going to go exercise by exercise. Training your bench press when you got a bad shoulder. Now I'm going to tell you this, one of the worst things you can do is not exercise at all. As a matter of fact, because of the cycle of breakdown and how our tissues operate and repair themselves, usually doing nothing is going to lead to more weakness, which is going to make you more vulnerable to even additional breakdown, and then that cycle starts and you're never able to get out of it. So I want to show you how to identify among the various things that could go wrong in your shoulder, what's going on in your shoulder, and then more importantly, what you can still do and how you can attack this exercise and still benefit from it. And if you haven't noticed already, I'm holding the muscle markers, I'm standing next to Raymond, we're breaking out all the big guns to make sure that you understand this, okay? So let's get started. Okay, so we need to first identify what are some of the things that are going on, and I'll list them out for you right now. You've probably heard them before. You can have a biceps tendonitis, usually happening with a labrum or a labrum tear. Next, you can have an impingement, and that could be from a bursitis, it could be from a rotator cuff tendon, the supraspinatus, that gets inflamed, or it could be actually, if it gets worse enough, you can get an actual tear of the rotator cuff tendon. Or we can have an AC joint problem, or we can actually have an SC joint problem, which is both ends here of the clavicle. But let's start pointing them all out. If I take out one of the muscle markers here, let's start with the labrum, right? And the labrum is something that I've actually had to deal with. If I could, I'd like to stab myself right in here and go as far as I could deep, because this pain is going to be deep inside the joint. But what you do feel a lot of times is, because of the location here, the long head of the bicep comes up and attaches right to where the labrum is. And I'll show you here on Raymond in a second, and that is going to actually tend to get involved because it's pulling right in the same spot. So the labrum is inside the ball and socket. It lines this to provide more of a suction and to provide more stability, which is key. In a second, I'll tell you about more about that. But it provides more stability for the shoulder, so when you do bench press, you're going to need that. And then the long head of the bicep tendon is attaching in here too, up top. So the fact is, your pain, you're going to feel a lot of times when you cross your arm across your body. You're going to feel pain and clicking when you use that arm and lift that arm and move it. And you're going to feel instability a lot of times when you have an injury there. Okay, that's the first thing. The next one is that bursitis, right? Some of that impingement stuff, things that are getting pinched inside of the joint here. And what we have is we have this subacromial space here underneath this bone, and you want to have as much room as you can in there so that all the structures with the arm and everything is moving inside here. You want to be able to move all that without getting things to pinch into each other, okay? So the bursa sits up here first about where my finger is, and then underneath that is the rotator cuff tendon, which is the supraspinatus, which goes underneath the bursa. So depending upon how long you've ignored this problem, you either have a bursitis that's inflamed and causing some pain. And again, lots of different things can hurt it. Putting your arm behind your back like this can hurt it. Anything that will pinch it. Raising your arm up over your head or inside of an arc like this can cause a pinch at a certain range because you're running out of space here. So we want to make sure that our shoulders are in a good position when we're benching to try to help us with these problems. If you ignore it for longer, it can actually go down into the actual supraspinatus tendon, which gets inflamed, and if you ignore it even longer than that, it starts to become a tear. So that's all occurring right at the end here, right at the end of the bone that you can feel yourself. I can feel right where that ends, and all this stuff is going to be happening right in this area here. And again, if I let it go for too long, it might actually turn into a tear, the rotator cuff tendon, where we start to get radiating pain down here into the delt. A lot of people think they've strained their delt when in actuality they probably got maybe a rotator cuff issue going on that's sending pain down the arm. And then finally we have the AC joint, like I said, and that you can actually see and feel. It's this bump right here where your clavicle meets your acromion, right at this joint here. Okay, and we have the SC joint where the clavicle meets your sternum. So you got the two spots in here, okay, and more importantly out here, which is a little bit higher. And here again, when you have a problem, when you raise your arm up, you get all kinds of crunching and popping. When you do bring your arm across your body, you can feel it, but you're feeling it here. You're not feeling it like the labrum deep inside. Okay, and really if I go back behind my body and I do this and I try to raise my arm up behind, I really feel discomfort and pain, again, right locally at that spot there. So if you go through some of the motions yourself and you can identify where some of your pain is, that's going to be a really big help. But if not, it's going to probably reveal itself as we actually get to the bench press. So now let's get to the bench press and see what it is that's causing your problem, and more importantly, what you can do to work around it. All right, guys, so now that we're at the bench press, let's start. We'll pick one right off the bat. We'll go with the AC joint because it's the most obvious. As I said, you can look at it. You can see the difference here. My past injury is still prominent, whereas over here I never had one. So what we want to do is understand why it's happening. This is actually the one that can happen and occur actually on a single rep of a bench press, because what matters here most is the targeting of the bar and the depth of the bar. So you've been told that, and I told you the other day, how when we press, we actually move in a natural pressing arc. We come down and forward, we go up and back, okay? Down and forward, up and back, just like this. And what people will also tell you is you want to target your chest, and some people tell you about targeting the bottom of your chest. Others guys say to target your nipple line. Well, especially if you're handling a weight that you're not that comfortable with, the more I target down, right, lower on my chest, you see what happens here? My shoulders, my forearms start to fall inward, down towards my feet, and that, exaggerated there, is what will pop an AC joint, just like that. Okay, that force, that internal rotation force will pop the AC joint. So we know that if we already have that problem, you want to avoid that. So you need to fix your depth, you need to fix your targeting. So first of all, don't target the lower chest, try to target a little bit more in the mid chest, and here's a way we can do it. I always tell you how you want to get your shoulders back and arch your chest. You can do that by sticking your chest out, that's Superman, right? Pull it out here, shoulders back, down, arch. Now what we've done is I've brought my chest up so that now when the bar has to hit here, what I'm going to do is the depth has been fixed because I don't have to go as low because I brought my chest up. Okay, instead of bringing my hands and having my ribs, my hands chase my rib cage, if it stays down, where the depth has to go now, put my shoulder in this bad position, I actually have the rib cage come up to meet my hands, so the depth is actually taken care of and the targeting is taken care of. So if you do that, you'll find that it's a lot easier to get this right without putting that AC joint in danger. Now, the next thing, let's go with another one that's fairly easy to at least explain what's going on. The labrum, which is something I've dealt with, and it's not going to get better, guys. Once you tear, especially how I have a slap tear, which is a pretty significant or long tear, the only thing you could do is just try to get a little bit smarter about how you train, but what is compromised here is stability. And the reason why a bench press can oftentimes cause some discomfort for you is you've lost the stability. So if I go back down here, I'll show you, remember this is the one deep down inside that you're going to feel. When I'm here and I'm benching, what I've got is I've got the back of my shoulder here on the bench, and that is pushing up, right? Creating support for the back of my shoulder here on the bench. Basically pushing up in this direction. My arm has the weight in it. My hand has the weight in it. That's going back in this direction. So what we're getting is this sort of anterior dislocation force, right? It's a very uncomfortable thing. It feels like it could pop out, especially if you feel the pain at the bottom of your rep, down here at its extreme range. If this is where you feel the most discomfort, or especially coming out of there, then you're going to find that that's a problem. This is also because of the extension here of our arm behind our body, back, right, extending, where you'd feel and put the most stretch on the bicep tendon. So for both of those reasons, in a labrum issue, labrum/bicep tendon involvement, you're going to feel it the most at the bottom here. Well, there's a solution for that. If I came out of this rack here and I came right down to the floor, we could floor press. Because we don't have that differential anymore where the arm's going this way and the floor is, and the bench is pushing up this way. Now the floor is providing all of the support evenly from my arm as I press off of it. And you can use dumbbells as controlling my depth, right? If I'm sticking my chest up and out, I'm not sacrificing that much in the depth by doing the floor press, okay? But what we want to do is when we dump the weight, we don't want to do this. Right, from what we just learned. If I have the dumbbells and I'm done with the floor press and I go like this to dump them, I just did exactly what I told you not to do, which is causing that quick, forceful internal rotation, which can cause an AC joint. So what we do is when we're down here, we just unhammer curl them, okay? Just let them come out, drop to the floor, and be done with it. All right, so that would be our solution there. And again, is this ideal for training, doing floor press versus a regular bench press or a dumbbell bench press? No, maybe not, but the key was in the beginning I told you you need to continue to train and find ways that you can train around it, at least while it's healing and starting to feel better. Okay, you're never going to, remember, completely heal that situation, but you're going to get to the point where you don't feel pain anymore when you're bench pressing, and that's the key. So now, the other group, right? This group over here, the one where we start with the bursitis, which goes maybe to a rotator cuff tendonitis, which could go to a rotator cuff tear if we continue to fray and fray and fray away. And we're fraying because we've got pinching going on inside there. And if you don't listen to the pinching and you don't adapt to the pinching and do something about it, you're going to continue to have problems. You have to look at what is the relationship of the elbows to the torso, because we got to create as much space as we can. So if we lift our elbows all the way up, and now I'm working with my arm up here, I've used up a lot of space here. There's not much left, okay? What I need to do is I need to get my elbows down a little bit so I've got more space to move my arm and my body. That's the first thing. You've heard people tell you, you've heard me tell you to get your elbows down at this closer angle to your body when you're going to bench. Again, the same thing here applies to the bench press. The next thing you want to do is you want to do what I call the master tip. And you want to get your shoulders depressed here. Okay, because what we happen to do, we're trap overactivated people. Our traps will go all the way up here just from stress, from always doing stuff in front of us, texting. You want to get the traps out, because when the traps are up, you've just inadvertently shrugged and created less room in your shoulders. So what you want to do is you want to get the traps down, depress them from here, and then with your shoulders down here, when we say down and back, it's down that way and back. Now you press, and you've created a lot more room in that joint, and it feels a hell of a lot better, especially for those that are already dealing with impingement issues. Okay, and then finally, you want to talk about if it's that bad and you can't do anything here, remember, internal rotation with elevation is the problem. That's going to cause even less space in there. So you might want to switch from getting off of here to a dumbbell. And with the dumbbell, we can change our grip. So if we go from this position here, internally rotated, to bench, we can actually go to a neutral grip. But when we neutral grip, we're getting external rotation here at the shoulder. The more external rotation, the more space inside that joint, the more pain-free that press is going to become for you. To the point where we can go all the way over, underhand, and we can do an underhand bench press. And again, you might feel safer doing it with dumbbells, because you could dump them that way more safely than you could with a bar, but you can actually do an underhand bench press there with the bar, as long as you're holding on properly, and do that to create more space in here and give you an option. Again, guys, these are all options, but the key is this. I wanted to give you a video that broke down this exercise in particular as in-depth as I could, so that you get something really out of it that's going to allow you to continue to train, because again, you do not want to stop training if you've got this injury. Okay, you want to see if there's a way you can continue to train so you can intervene and stop that cycle of pain and get yourself back on track, getting stronger again so you can resume your normal workouts. Guys, I'm going to break this down for all the other exercises here for the chest, and I'm going to do all the other muscle groups too, and the other exercises that I know cause pain in those sort of bad combinations like I referenced in the beginning of the video. In the meantime, if you found this video helpful, leave your comments and thumbs up below. Let me know what else you want me to cover here. And again, as a physical therapist, guys, this all matters to me. It's not just doing a bench press to get a big chest. The fact of the matter is you better be able to do it safely, or you're not going to be doing it for long, and that's what matters most. If you're looking for a program that does care about all of it, then head to ATHLEAN-X.com, pick any of our programs, because I write them all with that in mind. You can find them using the program selector link below this video. In the meantime, again, let me know if you found this helpful, and I'll do more of them. All right, guys, I'll see you back here again soon.